North Korea. Secretive. Unpredictable. One of the world's last totalitarian dictatorships. Now on the brink of becoming a nuclear-armed state. Despite repeated sanctions, Kim Jong-un's weapons program is advancing.
North Korea is developing its capabilities so quickly.
His grip over the country appears to be tightening. To the outside world, he is a brutal despot. Here, he is worshipped like a god. But in a regime that demands absolute devotion, where disloyalty is punishable by death, how can we know how much of this is real, where this country is really heading under Kim Jong-un? This is one of the world's most isolated nations. For foreign journalists like me, access is rare. But for 6 strictly controlled days, we were invited in. They wanted to show us their version of North Korea.
Here, very peaceful place. So come here.
The socialist paradise. Supposedly one of the happiest places on Earth. Where the people have everything they need.
8 hours a day she works, and everything is perfect.
No mention here of the reality of public executions, food shortages, and total ideological control. But from the outset, it was clear the state security apparatus was all around. They wanted to examine all our equipment. They wouldn't tell us what they were looking for. Everywhere we went, we were shadowed by 2 government minders. Every interview was supervised. And for all of the smiling facade, the real face of the regime was never far away.
Just do the sit.
Speak to those who have fled this country, and these displays of apparently hysterical adulation may not be everything they seem. We're staying in a hotel on an island, in the middle of the Taedong River in Pyongyang. We're not allowed to leave it unaccompanied. It's for our own safety, we're told. The experience is surreal. Inside one of the planet's most repressive regimes, to the soundtrack of 80s synth pop. Technically, we're here to cover the once-in-a-generation Workers' Party Congress. In truth, we're entirely in the hands of our government hosts. Every time we head out, we're required to wear press armbands to identify ourselves. We move around in convoy by media bus.
So we don't actually know where we're going. We appear to just be following this black car in front. We'll be told soon where we're heading.
Out of the mist, the towering figures of Kim Jong-un's father and grandfather. All traffic is required to slow down here as a sign of respect. After some initial confusion, we arrive at our destination. Throughout our time here, this will be the one constant, a series of men in dark suits, always nearby, almost always smoking. We're headed, we think, for the big event, but there's a catch.
So this is where the big Congress is being held, or rather, over there is the outside of the building in which the Congress is being held. This is as close as we're allowed to go, so the far side of a 6-lane road. From here we can see the portraits of Kim Il-sung and Kim Jong-il and the outer perimeter of security.
Instead, we were off to a showcase factory. Some of the workers enjoying a game of football outside as we arrive. We're herded into an exhibition on the visits of great presidents past. Not every image wholly convincing. Inside a made-for-TV production line. But if it all looked too good to be true, maybe it was. We asked this man what his job involves.
He's not in this place actually. He works in another place, so he doesn't know this place.
As we recorded the next interview, our cameraman noticed another official listening in to one side. He's writing the man's name, age, and the word soldier. Afterwards, he appears to be asking one of our minders where we've been and what we've filmed. When our every move is so carefully monitored, it's hard to know what people here really think. Another day, another media tour, this time to the supposed birthplace of founder-president Kim Il-sung. And a lesson in the approved version of history.
As you can see, our President Kim Il-sung, when he was 7 years old, took part in the popular uprising.
But it doesn't take long for the mask to slip.
Just do let me. Just do, as I said. Look at here.
So what
Look at here.
What is the problem?
Is it wonderful? What do you think?
The offending photograph deemed to be disrespectfully framed.
I'm sorry?
This place, this is our leaders. Great leaders.
I don't understand.
Please do it again.
I don't understand.
Let me try.
I don't understand.
Let me try.
Dealt with accordingly. Outside, the list of those present is discreetly consulted and the names of those involved identified. On with the tour and a musical tree. Before a discussion with our guide about the country's nuclear program.
That is all for the peace of this country. Don't mind it. For the happy life of the Korean nation. Please come here. Don't say like that, as I must say.
But isn't it
That's
also
right.
impoverishing the Korean country? The development of nuclear weapons actively making people's lives here harder.
We Korean people, this year, we make the great victory to make our way the hydrogen with the nuclear weapon. It shows our great power.
But hasn't that brought heavy sanctions that make people poorer?
To defend this nation. Maybe if you visit here several times, you can know about it, I think. Now, shall we go, please?
They took us down into the depths of the Pyongyang metro. On the far side, all the people we would never speak to gliding past. The purpose was to marvel at the modern infrastructure. The daily commute, just like anywhere else. Then we were off to visit a typical family. To see, we were told, how the average citizen lives. We appeared to be following a well-trodden path.
This is a bedroom.
Our gracious host is a teacher at a primary school.
And you have the leaders on the wall up here?
예, 우리 어제 2차 사활을 우리는 위대한 지령 김일성 대원 스님, 위대한 인사 김정일 대원 스님.
At the school, we teach about the great President Kim Il-sung and great leader Kim Jong-il, as well as the respected Marshal Kim Jong-un. There is a special section at the school that specializes in teaching the greatness and what they are all of us. So, for all of us, giving priority to the education of all the great leaders comes first of everything before they have the real knowledge about the other science fields.
Next on the schedule, the Kim Jong-suk Silk Mill. Named in honor of Kim Jong-un's grandmother.
So this factory, our factory, is associated with immortal relics of our great president and great general and mother Kim Jong-suk.
Not quite what we had come to cover, but in we duly trooped to see the immortal relics.
So here we are in the Revolutionary Education Room. On the walls, pictures of the great leaders visiting the factory. Over here, the chair that Kim Il-sung once sat in. All of which fascinating history, but as you can see, once again, very far away from where anything is actually happening.
Inside, non-stop, rousing revolutionary music. And workers only too happy to tell us how wonderful the conditions are.
Eight hours a day she works, and everything is perfect, including the working conditions. There were facilities and supplies being provided by the state and the factory, so there's nothing to be worried about.
Other areas, though, were off limits. Not everyone had time to talk. Finally, the factory kindergarten, where the children careered, apparently oblivious to the sudden influx of officials and camera crews. Around they rode in their tiny fighter jets past the replica rocket, waving to the international press. But back at the hotel, the novelty of touring factories was wearing off.
Excuse me, what are you
It's not amusing.
What should we do?
We wanted to know when we would be going to the Congress.
Can we go there? Why not?
The place is so small.
It looks pretty big.
It cannot.
He told us we could go next time, which on past form will be in 36 years. So they took our small team to the shooting gallery instead. A chance for our minders to blow off some steam and show us their skills. Before a member of staff stepped in to show them how it should be done. But the wait was almost over. The next morning, we would finally get our chance to see the Supreme Leader himself. Early morning in central Pyongyang. From every direction, a stream of silent figures mobilizing. A kaleidoscope of finery on the move. One of our minders had called my room after midnight, telling us to be ready by 5:30 a.m. to leave our phones and most equipment behind. Now we were under escort with a soldier from the Korean People's Army, moving through the streets under heavy security. Up ahead, more soldiers, what looked like final preparations. And more security checks. In Kim Il-sung Square, the massed ranks of the regime, the elite, the Workers' Party inner core, all waiting in almost total silence. All attention on the balcony above. In front of us, the crowd stood, hushed, ready for the cue. The leader was on his way. This was meant to be a celebration for the end of the 7th Workers' Party Congress. In truth, it was about the veneration of this man. A regimented display of devotion. They're chanting, "Man say, long live." And then a replica missile launcher, a celebration of Kim Jong-un's signature policy, the push to develop the economy and nuclear weapons. The United States says it will never accept a nuclear North Korea. Mr. Kim does not appear to be waiting for their permission.
In the last 5 years under Kim Jong-un, we've really seen that program advance in pretty much every direction. We've seen him do very active, increasingly active nuclear and missile testing. We've seen him develop and begin working on a program to put nuclear weapons on submarines at sea. And so really, this is a threat that is manifesting itself in many different ways, and for most who are looking on, it's of extreme concern. Every indication is that time is really not on the side of the US and its allies. North Korea is developing its capabilities so quickly and threatening to conduct nuclear strikes against its adversaries on a daily basis.
People here are told their country is under threat, that only Kim Jong-un and his nuclear warheads can protect them. In a state where information is strictly controlled, only the official version of reality is allowed. At times it felt uncomfortable, watching grown adults effectively prostrate themselves, apparently overcome by the leader's presence. But how could we know what they were really thinking? How much of this emotion is genuine? With the state TV cameras trained on them, what other option did they have? We stood just meters away, but worlds apart. I was reminded of my interview with this man, a former North Korean soldier who escaped across a river. He had attended other events like this. He told me everyone understood what was expected.
박수 칠 때 박수 안 친다든가 같이 있을 때 졸았다든가 이러면은 너는 정말 그 김정은이 사상을 따르지 않는 사람은 이렇게 처형하거나 할 수 죽기 싫어서 당하면 만세 부르고 박수 치고 이렇게 하거든요.
And for all the pictures of deliriously happy troops, under Kim Jong-un, he said, people are more afraid.
관계층 우리 군부에도 내가 중대장 할 때 내 대원은 한 사람 총사장인 거 있고 관계층 행보는 많이 봤습니다. 많이 보고.
Around the same time as that interview, we filmed these images from the border, a brief glimpse into the real North Korea. You can make out an ox cart moving slowly through the fields. What looks like a work unit marching along the road. Human rights groups accuse the Kim regime of deliberate starvation, forced labour, torture, of perpetrating crimes against humanity. All a long way from the propaganda of Pyongyang, and a reminder of how much we didn't see on our carefully guided tour.
During our time here, we're actually based on an island. The Media Hotel is in the middle of this river in Pyongyang, and it's not a bad metaphor for the experience of reporting here. Things on the island are fine, as they are in the model factories we're taken to see, the model citizens we're taken to meet. But there's a big country outside this media tour that we're just not allowed to go to. We can't speak to people without our government chaperones by our side. So what is life here really like? What do people really think of Kim Jong-un? I just don't think we know. All we can report is what we see, and all we can see is what they're prepared to show us.
This is what they want the world to see. The supreme leader, a man who looks stronger than ever and who shows no sign of turning back. Since the start of 2016, he's carried out 2 nuclear tests. Test-fired a long-range rocket, multiple short, medium-range, even submarine-launched ballistic missiles. All banned under UN Security Council resolutions, none of which seems to be having the desired effect. Kim Jong-un is making no secret of his ambitions. He is determined to pursue nuclear weapons and daring the rest of the world to stop him.